Hey there, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the East to West Hunts podcast. My name is Alex Gruin. I am your host. Today, we got a real exciting guest on. We have Bruce from Epoch Outdoors, and we're going to talk digiscoping, which I think is paramount when we're going on these fun hunts and we're trying to get some great memories. So, without further ado, Bruce, welcome to the show, man.
Alex, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, likewise, man. I've been tuning in. I will be the very first one to tell you I am a gear nut, and I like to play around and test all kinds of stuff. So yours is definitely one of curiosity that I've been really looking at a lot. So I was really looking forward to chatting with you about this.
Yeah, great.
So I think Instagram's great, right? You get all the great content and what everybody's up to. I love all of your digiscoping through binoculars. I think that one actually perks my interest more than anything. But before we get too deep into the weeds, like, how did you get into this in the first place?
Yeah, so the story of Epoch, we actually started back in 2020 when I was still in college. I had a idea to display a shed antler on my wall, actually like this one, and the setup is kind of a mess back there. It's not in the best state right now, but
Okay.
I just love shed antlers so much that I wanted to be able to kind of memorialize the moment that I found that shed antler because it was such a huge breakthrough for me every time I found one of these shed antlers. And so from there, I actually created a company called Shed Straps. And for me, it was always bigger than that individual product. It was about remembering the moments that we have in the outdoors, and especially just the ups and the downs, the feelings of just complete emotional happiness and just the lows that we experience as well. Just cementing those in your brain so that you have some awesome stories to either keep to yourself or to tell to your friends. And that's where Epoch was born. That's actually what Epoch means. So our name, EPOCH, and Epoch is like it's a moment in time that's of special significance to people. So like some
Ah,
might say the Renaissance was like an epoch moment, but you might have more personal epoch moments, like the day that you decided to get married or the day you got engaged.
yeah.
Those are life changing decisions, and you have those in the outdoors as well. You have just extreme moments of happiness and extreme moments of just emotion that you remember for an incredibly long time. Moments that really can change your life and form
Mhm.
who you are as a person. They're very informative moments. And so that's what we want to tap into here at Epoch Outdoors with all of our products. So that's kind of where we came from.
Love it. Well, yeah. So I was going to ask you about that because I saw you had other stuff, right? I mean, you have that. I think sheds are just a whole nother component because like I got buddies that I think they like shed hunting more than they like actual hunting. So, and I give them a hard time about it. So I almost like separate it completely. But I did see, your antler perspective online. I saw your bear spray, which I thought was a whole nother aspect. And I watched a few of your videos too. And then obviously the digiscoping and all that. So that's interesting to know because I actually thought you started things off with the bear spray component and then you got into the strap. So that's pretty
Yeah, we
cool.
were shed straps before that. We rebranded the Epoch right before we launched that bear spray to kind of just
Sweet.
broaden the mission and, become more manifest like what our company was initially designed to be. But yeah, you're right. Before it was just shed straps, our company was pretty narrow, if you will.
Yeah, that's sweet. So is your background like in engineering or something?
It's not. I'm actually a computer scientist.
Okay. All right.
So I went to school for computer science and data science. But I mean, since the earliest age, I've just loved creating things. Yeah, I've just loved creating things. When I was younger, I'd just buy a bunch of tools. I've pretty much spent my entire, I don't know, all the money that I made through the construction cleanup jobs that I had on tools, and I would just create little pieces of furniture, little gadgets, tables, catapults, and I just love creating stuff that is cool and innovative And really, when I went into college, it was okay. What can I do that is creative, where I still make stuff and at least make some money at the same time? And I thought, okay, computer science might be the way forward, and it is to a certain degree. Like you get to build systems. You get to
Uh-huh.
build systems like servers and front end components that all work together magically. And the worst part is when they don't work together. That's fun for nobody. But yeah, that so just my love of actually building systems, building things that work. It's still on fire today. It's still what drives me forward, what just gives me a huge motivation to create stuff. I mean, sometimes I do wish I would have gone into something like mechanical engineering. I
Okay.
did look at their course loads in college, and they do have some pretty cool classes just on like how to actually design things, how to do 3D design. But there's a lot
Yeah.
of courses in mechanical engineering that are not that as well. And so I think at the end of the day, you just have to be willing to learn what you want to learn to create the thing that you want to create. And the beauty
Oh,
of it is
totally.
it's easier than ever now to learn things, and to
God, I
bring
mean,
your
you're
ideas to
you're not
life.
kidding. Yeah, I love that. That's very well said. But yeah, yeah, when I was looking at that, I was like, I wonder if he's in engineering because you got some really like the design aspects of it are really well thought out and stuff that you have. So that's really cool. So if we think about the star of the show here with digiscoping though, like what was your sparking moment there of creating that?
Oh man. That's a good question. I knew I wanted to create a Digiscope for quite a while. I had bought
Okay.
a old Digiscope system, and I was very, very just unsatisfied with it. I didn't actually come from a hunting background. Like my dad wasn't a hunter. He was a huge outdoorsman, so I spent just a ton of time in the outdoor. I grew up in Montana, spent just a ton of time hiking, backpacking, but he wasn't a hunter. But I really wanted to try that because I had hiked a lot of the peaks in Montana. And so I set out, actually I was a shed hunter before I was a hunter. And
Mm,
so
there we go.
I needed to figure out where these bulls were wintering. And so I remember going out just countless Saturdays trying to find bulls on the winter range. And finally, I actually saw some bulls. And that was a big moment for me back in college. I'm like, oh my goodness, they exist out here. And I wanted to get a picture through my Digiscope. And because the Digiscope setup was so clunky, I never got that picture. And ever since then, I thought there's got to be a better way to do it. And there have been
Mhm.
some pretty big innovations just in the digiscoping space overall since that period. And but none of them were exactly the way that I would have designed it. And so I finally said, like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, like I want to try to design a digiscoping system. What would that look like? Is it possible to do what I want? Is MagSafe magnets, are they strong enough to even hold up a big phone? So I had to go through that entire process, that entire refinement to really answer some of those questions to figure out if I could even design a digiscope the way that I wanted to.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna actually share my screen here because I
Yeah.
think this is a good way to do it. Well, let's look at this deal here. So here's a very intriguing part to me because the MagSafe component, which I'm definitely going to ask you about because I'm curious about it, but the the MagSafe, I've seen the stuff with the plates on the back, which that kind of changes things as far as charging for a lot of folks. But the interesting design here of like the magnets that go all the way around, how did you come up with that part? Like what was your need with, was there a need of a particular amount of magnets, or like how did that come to fruition? Because I think it's super simple but it's very smart.
Yeah, pretty much just looking at what was available, how to best put those two pieces together. I did play with the number of magnets. I did play with whether or not there would need to be a physical connection as well as a magnetic connection. Just playing with all those and going through constant iteration until I felt like I had found the thing that was most refined, that I would be happy with in the field, and then just testing that over just countless times, making sure that that was the right design decision. So really just quick iterations, making sure that it's refined. There are I have a bag in my closet of old designs that did not pass the test. So for
Okay.
for that one picture you're looking at there, there were countless ideas that went before that did not make the cut.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I figured as much. And here's another curiosity point that I had about it, because I've used different adapters, right? I think I've actually probably tried everything that's on the market. Some of the irritations that I've had experience wise is like if you have a larger phone, right? You got an iPhone 16 or 15 Pro Max, the weight of it causes it to like sag. I'm assuming yours does not do that because of the magnetized factor of it's covering it all the way around.
Yeah, let me actually, like, I can just show you exactly how this is working. So, I mean, if you look at
Sure.
those magnets on that adapter, they actually
Uh-huh.
stick out maybe a millimeter or two. And then there are indentations in this eyepiece that you can see in this binocular right here. So when I
Yep.
put this on, it can actually snap, and I don't know if you can hear it. Like,
Yep.
that's the snap. It'll snap in physically, and then it's locked in position. That
Love it.
movement you're seeing right there is actually the eyepiece. So if you have, and I went out and I bought a Samsung S24 Ultra.
I was laughing hysterically at that
Yeah, but just to
three-part
make
series.
sure. Yeah, that was funny. But just to make sure that it's secure and it works incredibly well with even the heaviest phone that I've tested on, because it is a magnetic connection, but it's also a slightly a physical connection as well, between those two things. And so we just want to make sure that connection's as firm as possible.
I didn't know that. So you just that was huge what you just showed me, because my imagination was, for viewers and listeners, I don't have this product. So like this is, I'm literally talking from no experience, just visual like you would as a potential customer. When I looked at it, I was thinking that they were just tagging against the magnet, not that they're actually going in against. So that's where my curiosity came from, because I'm like, if these magnets aren't actually like hitting into something that's going to be rigid, they're literally going to like roll. So how is it not rolling? Because every
Yeah,
time that you're putting it up, I'm watching you, I'm like, it's not falling. So there's got to be something that's causing it to stop. So that's awesome.
yeah, it'd turn into like a ball bearing electrical motor thing really quickly, where you could just spin it
Yes,
around really, really fast.
literally. Well, that's, I'm telling you, because I have a couple other ones, and every time I put it on, it like sags, and then you're
Mm.
trying to like get this thing to just fit right, and it's super irritating. And then you're like, okay, this is not solving any problem for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's so when you connect this to your phone and then connect to this, I mean, you can do it horizontally or vertically, just because those magnets will align with these steel plates in either fashion. And once you have it either there, vertical or horizontal, it's not going to sag on you. It's going to be incredibly, incredibly secure.
Now, with that piece that you have on your Bino, the eyepiece, right? Are
Yes.
you able to glass out of your binos just like normal with that?
Yes, I leave this piece on most of the time. Some people choose to take it off. You can do either. But yeah, this is it's supposed to be very thin. It's supposed to be very non-intrusive to your glassing experience, and it's supposed to perfectly contour like the actual shape of your optic. So like you can see on these vortex right here, there's actually a taper on this eyepiece. And so we want to actually match that taper exactly. And
Mhm.
sometimes the eyepieces are actually more of complex shape. If you ever look at a Swarovski, like NL Pure, or even like their ATX or STX, their eyepieces are actually a little bit more involved in the shape, and we actually match that shape identically. So when you
Okay.
slide that over, it's incredibly thin and it conforms exactly to the shape of your optics eyepiece. So yes, we love you to glass through it. So yeah, we love you to glass through it.
Yeah, that's a huge one too, because that it's always awkward if you're like closer on one eye than the other and you're trying
Yes.
to look through. So,
Yeah.
all right. You thought of all those things. So you clearly likely went through all those same experiences.
Yeah, one thing I will say is it does stick up just a touch. Like, so if I put the eye relief on these binoculars all the way down, I mean, that's what you're dealing with. That's how thick it is. You're probably looking at a millimeter or two of
Mhm.
added height. So if you rock your binoculars all the way down in relief, that might be a little bit annoying. Most people are using just a little bit of relief, and at that point, you can adjust these to be completely flush, just like that. So it becomes even less intrusive to your glassing experience. So overall, I'm super happy with it. And on a spotting scope, it's a little bit less of an issue because this just goes on right there, and then people can just get this to the proper eye relief, and that becomes less of an issue of sticking out and making sure that both of the eye cups of a binocular are equally far away to get your eye relief correct.
So was that a spotter that you just pulled out?
Yes. Yep. So this
So,
is our
so,
spotting scope right here.
so I noticed you got a little like latch cover there for that.
Yes. So right here, so this is the eyepiece. This is just a Vortex Razor Generation 2. This is our eyepiece cover. It's kind of like a little plug design.
Mm.
And so it just sits right in the middle of this opening right here. So when you can put that on there, it'll just lock. It's incredibly light, so it's not going to bang around in the wind, but it still protects the opening from debris and anything that you might encounter in the field. And so that can come on and off and just really protect that optic in the field. And if you ever do want to take the entire eyepiece off, it can actually dangle from the spotting scope just like that. And that's kind of a cool
I
design.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the entire thing together kind of acts as the eyepiece cover because the eyepiece cover doesn't cover the entire thing. It works with the plastic eyepiece to
I like that.
protect your optic.
Okay. The other question that I had that popped up as you were showing me on the binocular, is there any advantage or disadvantage of having the eye relief in or out when you're videoing?
Yeah, so if you have it closer, I usually like closer because you get closer kind of in that sweet spot of the eye relief. You can get too close where your every optic has a millimeter
Hmm.
distance relief that is best suited for it. I usually find that all the put in all the way is where I like to digiscope from. Some people will not do that, and that's fine. But for me, I find the best results are when you screw this all the way in, get as close as possible, and that we've built the product to work from that position.
Okay. It's what I would have imagined with that eye
Yeah.
relief. You probably would get a little bit more visual out of it, but
Yeah. Yeah, and you are a little bit closer, so it does zoom into your camera a little bit more. You get less of a dark ring when you're just using that 1x lens on your phone.
okay. So with that, your piece, your actual attachment that goes on your phone
Yes.
has technically two sides to it, and you're essentially shifting it to go from X to whatever your zoom is, right? Is
Yes.
there a different piece that you sell essentially for each phone because of where their cameras are?
Yeah, every phone is dimensioned just a little bit different. So we make each one of these specific to each phone model. And yeah, you got it. You nailed it. So this is our adapter piece. We call this our adapter. We call this our eyepiece. And then that little eyepiece cover is just our eyepiece cover. So there are three parts to the system. You don't need the eyepiece cover for it to work. This adapter is pretty cool. It can go on the back of your phone with a case or without a phone case. Actually, I'll take my phone case off just to show you. So here's just an iPhone right here. This can go just directly onto the back, and you can actually rotate this. Right now, it's targeting just your 1x lens, and you can rotate it to target your zoom lens, wherever that might be on your phone. We aren't going to target the wide angle at all because that's counterproductive to your glassing experience. That zooms you out. We're trying to zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
So this is educational. What have you found as far as 1x versus like the zoom lens when you're digiscoping? Like, why would you use one over the other?
Attention hunters, are you sick and tired of the complicated draw systems and tag applications that take place out west? Or maybe you want to plan a Western hunt or maybe one of your dream hunts and you don't really even know where to start. Well, that's where East to West Hunts comes in. We take care of everything for you. We'll do the tag applications. We just need to put a strategy in play for you of what you're trying to do and when you're trying to go. Whether it's short term, mid-term, or long term, we want to have that play and that strategy together. And when you do draw a tag, we can look at do-it-yourself options such as hunt plans that detail out exactly how to hunt those areas, or we can get you booked with a guide and outfitter in that specific unit or area. So don't leave that hunt to chance. Give us a call, set up a time on the website, contact us on social media, whatever it is, and let's get planning towards that dream hunt of yours. And let's make it a reality. Check us out on www.east2westhunts.com. Again, that is www.east2westhunts.com. Also check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and podcast. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, the 1X, it's pretty good. I use it probably 75% of the time, just the 1X. And on the newer iPhones and some of the Samsungs, you can actually crop it down to a 2X. So you actually have 1X and then 2X. Those are actually the same lens. And it's not technically an optical zoom. What they're doing is they're cropping the sensor down. So like you have a bunch of resolution and then they say, well, we don't need all this resolution. We can still pull out a full resolution image just using part of the sensor. And so they start cropping that down until you get to that 2X. And then everything past that 2X is going to be an optical zoom if you're using that 1X lens. You can then switch to your 5X or your 3X or whatever phone you're using. You can switch to your zoom lens. That's going to be a multiplier on top of whatever optic you're using. So if you have a 3X telephoto lens, zoom lens on your telephoto lens and zoom lens are the same thing for people wondering what terminology I'm using. But if you have a 3X zoom lens, that's going to be a multiplier on top of the binocular or the optic that you're using. So you do 3 times a 10X multiple of your binocular right here. It's going to get you a X optical zoom. And that can be incredibly, incredibly useful. A lot of times I don't bring a spotting scope. They're kind of big and they're kind of heavy. But if you can find some way to stabilize that optic when you're out there, and you just hit record and you start recording through your telephoto lens. I watch back the recordings from when I do that, and I can pick up things, details in my recorded footage that I can't pick up when I'm looking at it through just using my eyes. Part of that, I think, is just it being on a recording, and sometimes you can scrub through a little bit faster and the movements of the animals just stand out a little bit better. And then some of that I think is really just the optical magnification really coming into play, so that you can really pick up more detail than you can just using that 1X lens. And so I've really found that to be a hack, especially this time of year. You're trying to decide if antlers still have bulls. I say bulls still have antlers from incredibly far ways away.
I love it.
You're trying to decide if bulls still have their antlers. And I find you recording those through my telephoto lens and then watching it back at a higher rate of speed to really see that movement, to see if those antlers are still on their head is incredibly, it's a powerful thing.
Well, you mentioned you don't take your spotter a lot of times. That was actually the most intriguing part to me, because I probably got, I don't know, maybe 10 terabytes of video footage that I got to break apart to do videos of. And I have I have a Sony a7 IV. I got all the lenses, whatever. Half the time I don't want to take any of it out just for weight purposes, especially if I'm going on like a backcountry hunt. So I end up videoing with a GoPro and my phone.
Yeah.
And then I'm taking my spotter, because, or sometimes I have my camera and my spotter, which now I have like 10 extra pounds of weight. It's a total pain in the rear. And I was like, man, if I could take my 16 SIG binos, my stabilizing binos, and my like 8s or 10s or whatever I'm going to have, that takes like 8 pounds of weight off. I could click this thing on and I could get some really sick footage. It's great for YouTube, right? I'm not making a professional movie. And it would come out pretty darn good if this thing holds true to what it looks like. So it sounds like that would be pretty efficient with how this thing is sounding like it works.
Yeah, I'd agree. That sounds like a great system.
I love it. Any challenges that you've come across with the magnets and like GPS on your phone?
Yes, the magnets will throw off just the internal compass. So your phone has a digital compass in it that a lot of hunters use just to orient themselves when they're looking at their digital mapping solution, whichever one you might use. The magnets will throw that off if they are on the back of your phone. Now, the inbuilt magnets for MagSafe don't throw that off because the digital compass is calibrated. It expects those magnets to be inbuilt into the phone. So
Wow.
those magnets won't throw off your digital compass. As soon as you attach the adapter to the phone, though, the digital compass inside your phone will get screwed up. But the beauty of this system is it just comes off like that. You can put it in the back of your bino harness and you can navigate out in the backcountry like normal. So that is, I mean, we built this solution with that specifically in mind. We don't want to have any kind of permanent magnet fixtures on the back of our phone. I mean, the other thing that is coming to light more recently is digital compasses inside of range-finding binoculars. It's getting more and more common for binoculars to actually interface with your digital mapping tool to put a waypoint of where you're ranging.
Yes. Okay.
If you're using like a SIG range finding binocular, you're ranging a point, you range that point, it drops directly on your Onyx. So cool. The way it's doing that though is it's just looking at looking at the orientation of your binocular, saying how far away is that, and with those two pieces of information, it just plots a point right on your map and says, this is where you're looking at, and it's right. However, if that digital compass is screwed up on your binocular because these were magnetic, that would be incredibly bad. So we did not make these magnetic. These are just steel plates that are not going to affect any kind of digital compass. So you can still use these like normal when you're using your range-finding binoculars.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so see that was huge because I thought those were little magnets inside that thing. I didn't realize that was a steel plate.
Yeah, no, those are just steel plates.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I have not ventured. I haven't played around with having that issue with the range finding binos, but I have had issues with the bino harnesses, and I don't know why. Only particular ones. But if I had the plate on the back of my phone, which I don't right now, but if I have like a plate back here of any sort, or really any other stuff, for some reason on certain ones, it threw it off, and I could not get it to go back unless I restarted my phone.
Really?
So yeah, it was a total pain. Like I remember on one hunt in particular, I was like going around in circles in Utah for like half an hour, and I'm sitting there going like, I know for a fact this is the wrong direction, but why is this saying that? And I find that was kind of like the dawning period of like, oh man, this thing's messing with it. So I had to restart it, sure as heck. And I'm looking at my own little tracks and circles on the map.
The tracking is still working, but
the track is working. It's backwards. It's like flipped, and you're just like, all right, I'm heading north, but I should be heading south, and it makes no sense because I know this tree was on the way back.
It's like Frodo. Like we're going in circles.
Man, it's classic.
One thing I will say, I think there is a way to kind of reset the digital compass or the gyroscope in your phone if you move it in kind of like a circle 8 pattern like this, and while it's trying to interface with that digital compass. I've had really good luck with it resetting for me because sometimes I will get it next to a magnet. Like for example, if I try to pull up the navigation with this on, that digital compass will get screwed up. And if I move my phone in like a figure 8 pattern, it seems to kind of reset itself. Yeah. So I've had luck with that. I have seen documentation around it. I don't know if it works for all phones or what it'll work with. So don't get mad at me if it doesn't work, but if your phone isn't working, try it out and see if it works. It could be a good troubleshooting step.
Well, that would make sense though, because I remember having to do that, that little figure eight, trying to get everything to balance on the compass features. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. I didn't realize that it would reset as soon as you disconnected it though with the MagSafe. So that part's really, really cool because you just don't even think about that, to be honest. So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so I know you mentioned the Samsung phone. I was cracking up when I saw that because, well, one, whatever your video you put together was hilarious on whoever called you about Samsung, and then all the other Samsung posts. But with that, did you learn anything different out of that with the cameras and how they function? Because it seems like everybody's got Apple stuff, right? So you start getting used to that. But anything different there that you kind of noticed, or was it?
It was super similar. Super similar experience. The cameras on those are very good. I mean, I think they're just as good as the cameras on the iPhones. They do have, so Samsung's lineup in specifically right now, we can talk about Google Pixel or any other Samsung phone you want to talk, or Android phone you want to talk about, but they have a lineup. They have a regular edition, a plus. So like, let's take the S25 lineup. They have the S25, the S25 plus, and then they have the S25 Ultra.
Okay.
Those first two, the S25 and the S25 Plus, they're going to have a 1x lens and a 3x lens. So we support both of those. The S25 Ultras, like so many of my comments told me, has a super telephoto lens that can zoom
Yeah.
in at 10x optical zoom, and then it could crop to 20, I believe.
Okay.
And it was a very, very good lens. It's just when you start talking about such great distances and in different light conditions, you just want as much light gathering information as possible. The more light you can take into your lens, the better. And at the end of the day, that lens is still like this big. And so the image, the amount of motion that you were getting out of it was just, it was nowhere, it came nowhere close to actually digiscoping through any type of optic, a binocular or a spotting scope. And the other thing I did notice is they're doing just a lot of software manipulation to at that zoom level, just trying to make sure that everything makes sense. And they do a lot of software stuff, and oftentimes they can it makes it look better than it actually is, and you can kind of lose some information when you do that.
Yeah, I think that's always the fear, right? When you zoom in that much. I've seen them. I've been an iPhone guy for a while, but I've seen those zooms, and it's pretty impressive with how much you can see. But to your point, the cropping factor is the big one because I feel like you lose a lot to that too. It's very similar to like the APS-C crop factors on like the big cameras,
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, that's
actually
interesting.
an interesting scandal that came out from Samsung where they were actually doing some software recognition where when you would zoom in on the moon using that super telephoto lens, they would superimpose what they thought the moon should look like into your camera's feed. And so it was just hilarious because, and at the end of the day, that's not what you want as a hunter. You don't want them taking that and turning it into what you think it should be, what they think it should be.
Yeah.
You just want the information that you're seeing without a lot of software things doing anything to it and distorting it.
That is that turning it like a 300-inch bull to like a 420 or
Let's hope so. That
Oh
would be
man,
that'd be
can you
great for
imagine?
bragging rights.
Oh god.
You'll never
Well,
believe
yeah,
it,
until you
Alex. I saw forage.
it'd be bad though if you make the hike out and you're like disappointed when you get closer. You're like, what this is not what I saw.
This is not what I signed up for.
Oh man, that's awesome. So what were this is more curiosity than anything. What were some of your like biggest hurdles with putting this thing together?
Oh man, the amount of learning that you have to do to get a product just functioning well at a production level. We've had to learn so much. I mean, when we first launched the product, like actually I wasn't sure if anyone was going to find this product interesting. I released the product and our ability to scale the product was very limited. But then the demand actually came knocking. Like a lot of people said, hey, this is actually really interesting. We want to try this. And we just had to kind of grow with that demand. And right now it's still just my wife and I running the entire business. And we're super humbled and just super grateful for all the people that have taken interest in having conversations with us and buying our product and texting us and calling us and shooting us messages on all the social media platforms. It's been incredibly humbling. But like you said, there are some struggles with scaling for sure. You have to make sure that you hit the quality. You want to make sure that your customers are understand how to use the product. And there are some technical challenges to actually using a tech product. I mean, at the end of the day, you're using your phone. You need to know how to use your telephoto lens, what your telephoto lens is, what your zoom lens is, and how to operate that camera. So just making sure that our customers were happy, they knew how to use the product, making sure the quality of the product was top notch, and yeah, just all the learnings of how to scale and how to make a quality product. There is one funny story that I have where when we were first launching the product, I had tested the product for about 2 months, and I was like, "Oh, I love this product. I'm ready to ship it." And so we launched the product, and no one really bought the product when we first launched it. I didn't really make a big marketing push with it, just because I had spent so much energy just refining that product to what I thought was perfection. And I think right at the end of October, we had something kind of go viral, a piece of content go viral. And overnight, we had just a bunch of orders. And it was terrifying because we're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? That day, I went out hunting, and because it was in the middle of bow season, I believe. Or I think it was the last week of bow season. And one of my magnets actually fell out of the adapter. And so here I am thinking like, oh no, we cannot ship a product where the magnets are going to fall out on people. We need this to be seamless. We need these magnets to stay in the product at all costs. So that was just like a huge heartburn moment where you just have to kind of learn, you have to adapt. You're like, how am I going to solve this issue? And how are we going to insert these magnets into this plastic in a seamless and beautiful way that is easily scalable? And so there's just been a ton of like little things like that, just little problems that come up that you kind of just have to figure out and overcome just on the manufacturing side of things as well. We manufacture all these right here in America, and yeah, so just figuring out the supply chains, communication with customers has all just been incredibly humbling, but it's been a learning experience for us for sure.
It's awesome. Well, I would like to think with issues, they're going to happen if you're pushing forward and things. So it's not a bad thing, you know. But a question, I guess, that comes out of that is like, let's say somebody gets one and a magnet falls out a week later. Like, is that a warranty thing? Like, how does that work out if that actually happened to somebody?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, we would replace it so fast. That
I
would
figured
be
as much.
it did happen. One did get out before we solved that issue, and a magnet did fall out on a customer, and we will 100% replace that. If the issue was our product, we're going to replace it for you. And yeah, we just at the end of the day, we want our customers to have a great experience. These are devices that really help us, like I said, remember a lot of the epic things that we see in the outdoors, and we want our customers to really be proud that they are using an Epoch Outdoors product, and we want to reward them for taking a chance on us. Because at the end of the day, when you are purchasing a product from a company, you're putting your money, your vote of trust in that company. And but like I said, right now it's just my wife and I, and we want to really reward our customers for taking that leap of faith with us. So absolutely, if anyone has any problems down the road with this product, we're going to do right by you and replace it.
Love it. One thing that we didn't talk about, I know you have a phone holder.
Yes.
Like a magnetic phone holder. What's your purpose of that? Is that more for like videoing, kind of tripod, or like where do you kind of fit that into this whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's just once again, it's just capturing those moments. It lets you kind of record the video that you might go back and watch for forever. Like, I remember the first time I picked up a brown antler. It was it was a great moment for me. And I do have videos of that. The videos are completely terrible, and I've actually never ever shared them on the internet. But I do go back and I watch those moments because they do mean a lot for me. And when I discovered, because the first question I had to really wrap my head around was, can the magnets be strong enough to really hold your phone securely with MagSafe? And once I answered that with yes, I was like, well, this needs to be a phone holder. So like you can see the product right here. It's just an Arca Swiss phone holder, so it can slide in and out of any Arca Swiss that you might have, and then it can just hold your phone, and it'll let you just record moments that you can share with other people or keep to yourself. It does have a magnet just on the front right there, and it can magnet to your phone, and then it's just really easy to get a horizontal shot, a vertical shot, just to make sure that you have those moments on record that you can go back and reference for the future to help you tell a
It's awesome.
story or relive a memory.
Yeah, it looks so simple to use too.
Yeah, it's incredibly
Okay.
simple. No moving parts. Just a Arca Swiss base plate with a magnet on it.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it, because I tend to use it's kind of funny, but this is back to videoing in the backcountry. So I always use trekking poles, and I use a adapter that has like a Velcro piece, and you kind of have that little stretchy piece that you put your phone in, and like the clamp. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
And
I
it's
think I do.
cool, but it's like it's always a pain because you're trying to like angle it correctly if you want landscape or portrait, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And to have the MagSafe to just be able to just flip it and it works looks super simple versus having to like, ball head, move it, tighten it, do the whole
Yes.
deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. All right. Well, any other cool releases, updates, things you're maybe you can talk about?
Yeah, no, I mean, going into the future here, we just are going to continue to try to scale and meet the demand of the products that we've made. Right now, we are rethinking our Bear Blitz bear spray holster. That was a product that, growing up in Montana, grizzly
The
bears
grid.
kind of loom large in our minds out here when you're doing things like hunting and shed hunting specifically. So yeah, we came up with that Bear Blitz bear spray holster with Molly on the sides, so that you could have different attachments to it, and it has a tensioning system to make sure it's very easily deployable. And right now we're just rethinking how we're doing that, and we've got some really cool ideas. So that one's going to come back, and it's going to come back better than ever, but it's out of production right now, and we're kind of thinking like, how do we make that product better? And we have some really cool ideas. I have some other products in the work I'm really excited to launch, but I'm not super ready to speak about yet.
Cool.
But so please keep following along, keep engaging with us, and it's going to be a great journey.
It's awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to support small business and get a really really good product, this is your chance, folks. So I'll definitely continue to follow along and participate. I'm anxious to get my hands on it. Question for you with the bear, just out of curiosity, have you had to deploy your bear spray in Montana?
I have not had to deploy. I've deployed it for fun, for practice. Never had
Okay.
to deploy it because of a charge. I have had some very close calls where I have had to get out my bear spray, but I've never had to deploy it in the face of a charging bear. But
Nice.
those stories are not, they're actually kind of common. If you talk to
Yeah.
enough people in Montana, you're gonna talk to people who have both had to pull guns and bear spray on bears, and hearing those stories are always they're pretty incredible stories. But thankfully, I don't have any super close call
Good.
quite yet. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta put the asterisk there of yet,
Yes. Oh
just the
man,
reality of
it
it.
could happen anytime. It could happen
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, bear hunting in Montana. I mean, you really have your head on a swivel no matter where you're going. In some places, we didn't even venture into because it was just so thick that you were questioning, like, if I go in there, I don't really stand a chance because I can't see 3 feet in front of me, you know. So that's for viewers and listeners that have not been there. It's a real thing. So I love it. Well, cool, man. I'm gonna toss it to you here. Any other additions of of things folks should know about, and how do folks follow along and get a hold of your product?
Yeah, no, anyone that's listening, I just really thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting my wife and I on this journey. It's been a great one. If you guys have any questions or any concerns, please reach out to us over email. You can do info@epochoutdoors.com is our email. Follow us on Instagram, shoot us a message. Oftentimes we're talking about zoom lenses and telephoto lenses and what camera to use and how to use your cameras. It can be a little bit of a challenge, but we really want to support you and make sure that you guys are having the best possible experience that you can with our products and evaluating really honestly if our products are for you. And so if you guys have any questions, please do reach out. We'd be happy to talk with you.
Cool. Yeah, I'll add everything in the show notes. So if you guys want to check it out, just head over to the show notes. Everything will be in there in detail. And yeah, I definitely follow along a lot on your social. I think you do a great job of just kind of using the educational part of it, because I know with lenses and cameras and all that, it's not the easiest thing for everybody. So it is a big part of it realistically, because if you don't know how to use it, it might not work very well for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. The cameras they're difficult to use sometimes.
Yeah.
I can get into that if you want to, but if not, shoot me a message and we can talk about it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, all right, folks, I'm going to give you my little spiel here as well. It is tag application season. We are in the thick of it. So if you are interested in getting a hold of myself to talk tag applications, please reach out. You can go to info@east2westhunts.com. You can check out the Instagram @east2westhunts, or go on the website. Honestly, that's probably the best part. Go to east2westhunts.com and go ahead and hit that free consultation button, book a time, and we can talk face to face about how I can, or if I can assist you with your tag applications or hunt planning for the year, and we can go from there. Aside for that, thank you for joining on the episode and tagging along. Until next time, remember to scout, hunt, and repeat. Thanks.